Hi there, I'm Christopher Paul Jones, aka the Breakthrough Expert. Today I'm going to talk to you about anxiety. Now, when people come to see me, they can happily say they have fears, they have phobias. But I have found anxiety seems to have more of a stigma. I can often be discussing with people and they can be talking about how they have panic attacks. And I'll go, okay, you have anxiety. Now, sometimes the person will go, no, I don't suffer from anxiety. And I kind of scratch my head and go, well, what is it then? I don't know, but it's not anxiety. Now, what I realized is, for some people, they think of anxiety as hiding in the corner as somehow weakness. And they go, well, I'm tough, I'm a fighter, I'm strong. And it's like, yes, that's anxiety too. So some people don't call it anxiety, they call it stress. Now, the thing is, in our society, very often in work and business, it's almost rewarded. Oh, I'm so stressed because I'm doing so much, I'm such a high achiever. But that is a byproduct of anxiety. So as I've talked about in previous videos, when we become fearful, when we become afraid, we go into what's called fight, flight, or freeze. Now, the reason we do this is it's our survival mechanism. Now, when we have anxiety, it's the same. So we can go into fight, flight, or freeze. So that means for some people, when they're very anxious, they'll hide away. Some people will avoid the situation. They'll run away. They'll flight. And some people will want to fight the situation. They'll be angry. They'll be frustrated. They'll get annoyed. And a lot of those people who get angry and annoyed are often the people who say, I don't do anxiety, because they think that's somehow weak. Oh, I don't run away. I don't hide. I just battle through it. That's also anxiety. And it's still a fear response. And I think it's worth realizing that when someone is angry, when someone is upset, that they are also in need of reassurance. Now, that's sometimes very hard to do, and certainly if someone's in rage, they can actually be physically dangerous, so it is a balance. But it's to know that that response is a fear response. It's also useful for the people who regularly go to that place. You have just as much fear going on as the person who's avoiding. And so very often the people that do anger a lot are the people who also say, oh, I don't really do emotions. Like, you do, you just do anger. The other important thing to realize is that if two people are running opposite fear responses, so say a couple having an argument or in overwhelm, and one goes to anger and the other person goes to freeze, if that person in anger sees the person freeze, they will become more angry. Their pattern will become worse. And in the same way that the person who's frozen will become more frozen, and they set each other off. And then they'll both have a lot of judgment for that person's fear response. I think when you can look within yourself and realize that it is a response to fear, it's time to address it, whether you tend to run, whether you tend to get angry, whether you tend to hide. Now, as human beings, we will have all of them within us, but we tend to have a go-to fear response. Now, what determines that, normally, is whatever we were most rewarded for and whatever gave us the least pain. Now, that's not to say it was good in any way, but in the context of a fear response. So, for example, if someone's go-to response is fight, it's quite likely they realized if they got angry, it felt like rocket fuel, they got things done, or people left them alone, no one bothered them, no one criticized them. And in the moment, their subconscious mind goes, that keeps me safe. Or say someone's go-to response is to run away, to avoid. Let's say you had a parent that got very angry, and obviously as a small child you couldn't compete with them, so you learned to avoid situations like that. Or maybe it was the fact that if someone got upset and they froze when they were afraid, that got them reward, that got them a hug, that got them love, that got the other person to stop. As a society, we will reward some fear responses over others. So if someone's angry and shouting, we'll tend to judge them. If someone's crying and upset, often we will reward them. And there are obviously logical reasons for that. As I said before, you don't necessarily want to approach someone who could be violent. But it is important to realize they are all fear responses, and they can all be equally as unhelpful, as destructive to our immune system, and keep us stuck in life and keep us trapped in fear. So when we can recognize that and work through them, that's where you can get the freedom you want and a life that's more rewarding. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and of course share. And until next time, I'm Christopher Paul Jones.